Her dress was soaked, her heart shattered, and strangers passed her by as if she didn't exist. Then one man stepped forward, held out his umbrella, and said nothing. She never imagined that this quiet act of kindness would lead her to marry him. Without knowing he was a CEO, she stood in the rain, clutching the edge of her torn shawl, while laughter echoed around her. The breakup had been cruel, public, humiliating, and final. Her fiancé had walked away with another woman, leaving her alone in the storm. People stared, some whispered, but none offered comfort. And then a quiet presence appeared. A tall man stepped into her shadow, his umbrella tilted to cover her shoulders. He said nothing. He only stood there, shielding her from the storm, as though her heartbreak deserved silence instead of pity. His shoes grew wet, his arm trembled slightly from the weight of the umbrella, but he did not move. In that moment, when the world turned away, one stranger chose to stand still. Her name was Aisha. She had once been full of dreams, dreams of love, of a home filled with laughter, of building a life with someone who cherished her. But life had cut those dreams apart, piece by piece. Her father had passed when she was young. Her mother worked endlessly, sewing clothes late into the night, her hands cracked by needles and thread. Aisha carried their hopes quietly, always smiling, always helping, never asking for more. When she finally fell in love, she believed her waiting was over. The man she trusted promised her a future, promised her care, promised her forever. But promises are easy in sunshine. They are tested only in storms. On the night of her engagement, he revealed his true heart. In front of family, friends, and guests, he said she wasn't enough. Her family, too poor. Her future, too uncertain. And then, without hesitation, he chose someone else. The guests looked away. No one defended her, no one spoke, and so, drenched in both rain and shame, she stood until the stranger with the umbrella appeared. Aisha never forgot that moment, the quiet dignity of it, the way he did not question her or pity her. He simply offered shelter. That shelter would soon become her life. His name was Zayan. To the world, he was a man of power, the head of a company that stretched across cities, known for wealth, for ambition, for his sharpness in every deal. But behind the suits, the office walls, and the polished reputation, there was a man who carried his own scars. Years before, he had been a soldier. Not many knew that. He'd walked deserts under burning suns, heard the echo of silence after explosions, carried his brothers in arms when they fell. He had returned home, but war had followed him. The smell of smoke haunted him. The silence of fallen comrades filled his nights. His strength, his resilience, his ability to lead, all were forged not in boardrooms, but on battlefields. Yet he carried his pain alone. He had learned something few ever understood. True power is not in raising one's voice, but in carrying storms quietly. When he saw Aisha that night, her heartbreak mirrored his own wounds. He saw in her eyes the silent strength he knew so well, the strength of someone who endures without complaint. Weeks later, fate brought them together again. Not at a gala, not in wealth, but at a quiet tea stall where she worked part-time to support her mother. He did not announce who he was. He sat, ordered tea, and listened when others did not. Day by day, a bond formed, not built on grand gestures, but on silence, on shared glances, on the comfort of presence. When the time came, he asked for her hand. There was no ring of diamonds, no orchestra, no spectacle. Only a simple promise: I will not leave you in the rain. And so Aisha, still unaware of his wealth, married the man who once gave her an umbrella. She believed she was marrying a humble man with quiet dignity. She did not know she was becoming the wife of a CEO. But storms always return. The same society that had mocked her once now whispered again. Why marry a man with nothing, they asked. Where is his car? His fortune? His family name? At her new home, some neighbors laughed. Relatives doubted. People shook their heads at her choice. Even her old fiancé returned, sneering, telling her she had fallen lower than before. And still, Zayan remained silent. Public disrespect grew. At a family gathering, one relative mocked him openly. A man who can only offer an umbrella, the relative scoffed, cannot shelter a family. Laughter followed. Aisha looked at her husband, expecting anger, expecting defense. But he only lowered his gaze, calm, unshaken. He did not fight back. That silence, heavy and dignified, became his shield. Silent dignity is the loudest answer to cruelty, he once told himself. The day of truth arrived unexpectedly. Aisha was invited to a charity gala. She hesitated, nervous, unsure of how she would be seen. But her husband encouraged her gently. When they entered, whispers filled the room. She came with him? Who is he? Then the host of the evening, a respected figure, rose to the stage. Tonight, he announced, we honor the man whose company has funded schools, hospitals, and shelters across the country. Please welcome our guest of honor, CEO Zayan Malik. The room froze. Silence fell heavier than rain. The same man marked as poor, dismissed as nothing, stood tall as the very leader they admired. Those who laughed turned pale. Those who doubted lowered their eyes. And Aisha, for the first time, understood the truth. The man who had given her an umbrella had also been sheltering countless lives. Her former fiancé stood in the corner, stunned, humiliated by his own arrogance. Relatives who had mocked now rushed to offer respect. But Zayan did not gloat. He did not boast. He stood quietly, his hand resting gently on Aisha's, as though reminding her that none of this grandeur mattered. What mattered was that he kept his promise. Crowds rose, applauding in silent respect, not for the wealth, but for the dignity of a man who had never needed to announce his power. Honor is not spoken, it is lived, he finally said, his words echoing across the hall. And so Aisha learned that true love does not come with diamonds or loud promises. It comes quietly, like an umbrella in the rain. And Zayan proved that strength does not need to shout, it only needs to stand steady. Their story reminds us that behind every quiet act of kindness, there may be an untold power. Behind every silent figure, there may be a battle no one sees. Wherever you're watching from, think of the silent heroes in your life. The ones who protect without asking, the ones who keep their promises quietly. Share their names in the comments. And if this story touched you, subscribe for more tales that honor the power of silent strength. Because sometimes, the most powerful voices are the ones that never need to raise themselves.